Hello, you are listening to the Natural Healing Show for UK Health Radio. I'm your host, Catherine Carrigan, medical intuitive healer, Amazon #1 best-selling author. You can find out more about me and my work at catherinecarrigan.com and unlimitedenergynow.com. While you're there, definitely sign up for my newsletter so you can learn even more about how you can heal yourself naturally. Our guest today is Toni Bergins. Toni Bergins is the creator of Journey Dance, and she's the author of a new book called Embody, Feel, Heal, and Transform Your Life Through Movement. You can find out more about Toni Bergins and her wonderful work at her website, journeydance.com. Welcome, Toni Bergins.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be with you, someone who is on this path that I've been on as well for many years. So I'm excited to join you.
So, Toni Bergins, what exactly is Journey Dance?
Journey dance is a movement form from the kind of conscious dance world, which means that we're trying to elevate our awareness, our consciousness of our mind. We're trying to tap into our body's wisdom, our intuitive wisdom. We're moving emotional energy out and clearing it and restoring our nervous system to a balanced whole. That's kind of the nutshell version. And along that is a journey which involves movement, dance, somatics, expression, and creative visualization, and some alchemy in there as well.
Beautiful. Now, you also have created the embodied transformation method. What is the embodied transformation method?
Oh, I've been working on that for years and years. People would come to me with, problems and questions and things that they wanted to explore. And I took all of the best of my personal processes that I have created, that I have, worked with, things that I've studied over many, many years, and kind of formulated something where we could work one-on-one and move some material through the body. So it's kind of unsticking emotions, unsticking thought loops, meeting your inner critic with a higher power, kind of the higher version of you. Something like voice dialogue meets parts work, meets embodiment, meets music. It's a lot of different modalities kind of woven.
Okay. So, Toni Bergens, I have 31 years full-time experience in natural healing. I've taught yoga for 29 years, and I'm a medical intuitive healer.
Hmm.
I was just on somebody else's podcast yesterday, and I was talking about why men don't typically like talk therapy. And
Mm.
from my years of experience in natural healing, what I found is that whenever we have an emotion, we're usually conscious of it for about 6 days. But then if we don't fully process that out, it literally goes into our body.
Hmm.
Sigmund Freud was well aware of this, and I'm going to butcher this, but he said that, buried emotions never die. They just show up in uglier ways. So if this
Absolutely.
is your cancer, this is your chronic fatigue, this is your chronic illness, chronic depression, chronic
Mm.
anxiety. In your professional opinion, why is it important that we move our body to release emotions?
What a beautiful question. And the way you just set that up is just exactly what I've always believed and thought and felt on an intuitive level. I'm not a therapist, though I was raised by one. And I was always asked, how are you feeling? And it used to really upset me and trigger me. And I would not want to talk about my feelings because it wasn't something that we are comfortable and we're taught how to do. Like in school, it's like keep your feelings out of the picture, do your studies, get your mind right and do what we tell you. So to go into the emotions can be scary. And I get like why you're saying why men don't want to do therapy and all that, because, we're unpacking emotions. But interestingly, I really do believe that when you feel the emotions, even if you're not currently feeling them, so to speak, what I do in Journey Dance is I have a section of the work called evocative emotion. I think it's like chapter 7 in the book, where you can go in and just play music that will make you feel sad, and you'll just dance sadness, even if it's just an experiment, right? Make you feel like your anger, frustration, let you feel it, not make you, encourage you to feel it. And it will like bring that forth. If it's in you, it will come forward. It will joy, like joyful, fun music, so that you can actually become emotionally intelligent by learning how do you feel these emotions. And that's what I love most about the dance work is that I get to express emotions that I really wouldn't want to express to another person necessarily if they weren't processed well, right? So it's like I think that you need to feel your emotions, express them, move them so that you can actually come back to center and then have the conversation that need to be had, ask for the needs that need to be met, set the boundaries that need to be set, all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Because otherwise we're just running from reactivity and trigger and we're not conscious of what's happening in the body. So that's really why the body, the moving of the emotion, like I love to make shapes. I call it tell your story to the dance floor. So let's say you're in a wonderful mood and you come to class and you're just like la 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 la. But let's say you're in a terrible mood, you come to class and you're like and you let it out. It's so powerful to discharge the emotion in a safe container than to take it out. You know what I mean? So that's really what I believe. And I think, of course, then you come back to center, you come back to stasis, and you know how to stay a little bit lighter because you can train your body into different emotions, which is an amazing thing that they've studied, all the new brain science is that you can train yourself into a different state of being vibrationally and physically. So that's kind of where I land with that.
Fantastic. Great information. Now, in defense of men, one of the things we know that men are all about efficiency.
Mm,
So if I go to therapy, and as my perspective here at the Natural Healing Show for UK Health Radio, I interview healers like yourself from all over the world. And there's all these fantastic, very effective modalities that we can all learn about. And talk therapy absolutely has its place, especially when we're talking about things happening like right now. Okay. But
hmm.
once you get into, I'm talking about what happened 20 years ago, then what you're actually doing is you're retelling your story, right?
Yep.
And you're going into that vibration and possibly also into an archetype, like I'm going into my victim or my
Hmm.
core of me or what have you. All right. And so, and once we really truly understand that all these emotions get buried in our body, this is your cancer. This is your chronic fatigue. This is
Mm,
your, long-term illnesses that aren't solvable by traditional Western medicine. It gets
mm.
literally buried in our body. So we need therapeutic methods to move
Yes.
this energy out of the body, such as you have created with Journey Dance, which is a method of moving energy out of the body. Now, your book is called Embodied. And what I find interesting, there's another healer that I've interviewed who's also written a book about embodiment. So, what does it mean to you to embody who you are in your body?
Oh, I want to respond to what you said earlier as well, so I don't forget. I want to just
Yes.
bookmark that part about the parts, the parts that lead to the pain from the past. I'll come back to that in a second. But embodiment to me, being embodied is it's a certain kind of presence. In the book I write about, I wrote a story about the Dalai Lama. I was 23 and I was working in New York City. I was wearing high heel shoes and skirts and doing the whole corporate thing. And I ended up at this event where I met the Dalai Lama, and I had no idea. Like, I mean, I knew who the Dalai Lama was, but I was not on my spiritual path quite yet. And I was asked to escort him. I worked for a public relations firm. I was asked to escort him through the gallery. And I was like, oh my God, I was so nervous. And he put his arm in my arm, linked up with me and this other woman on the other side. And we walked through the whole gallery with him. And I felt this sense of presence. And I thought to myself, wow, I've been doing all this spiritual work, trying to get out of my body, trying to get out of my body, out of my body. And I realized, oh, this person is so present, so in this moment, so in their body that all the lights flashing and the interviews and the cameras didn't even phase him. He was just like this being. And I got it. Like it was like I didn't get it on a mental level. I got it on a physical level. And after that, I mean, my whole life kind of, I feel like everything happens in this crazy synchronicities and everything shifted and flipped over and tumbled. And I ended up, living right near one of the biggest yoga centers in the world, Kripalu, in the United States, of course, Kripalu Center, where I ended up studying most of my life and had most of my career. But this moment of realizing what presence is. Like that to me is embodiment. Embodiment is I am present in my skin. I'm not out here in the escape hatch. I'm not analyzing you. I'm not, witnessing you. I'm with you, right? I'm with me. I'm here in the moment. And that relates back to the question the thing that you were speaking about so powerful, because what you talked about, the victim and the poor me. So we all have that, right? And what I've done with that, I want to share this with you because this is, I think, one of the keys to Journey Dance and why I love the book and why I want to help people as much as I can. I love parts work, and that wasn't even a thing until recently. I didn't know what it was called, but now it has it. Now it's a whole entire body of work, and it should be studied. It's fantastic. IFS, go study it. But I was doing something on my own where I'd say, step into your highest priestess, step into your inner guide, the inner shaman, step into the wise one. And I'd have you stand here and like embody that, touch the ground, make a sound, oh, and like really become it. And then go over to your little victim and go over there and get into your little victim. So now we're on the other side and we're in our victim. We're in our poor me. We're in our inner child. And we're going to do a dance together where I get to really be with me and see me and heal me and say, hey, I know you're in pain, but look at me. I'm already, 50 something. I've made it this far. Let's keep going. We've got this. Let me take you out of the past and bring you into here. So it's kind of like that's what we're doing with higher parts and wounded parts in this work in a dance where it's not verbal. It's like energetic exchange and it's a presencing again back to the embodiment. When I'm whole, and wholeness is a whole other topic, but when I feel whole, it means I feel my parts are completely with me. Even if they're painful parts, I'm still holding because they need my attention, right? So how do we not get the cancers and the chronic fatigues and all the things? We have to, we can, I won't say have to, we can learn to embrace whatever we've been through and alchemize it over time. I think these things take time into like our power, our medicine, I call it, like my personal medicine. Like you're a medical intuitive, totally different, but I use that word medicine in terms of like homeopathy, where you take something that is like weird and it like makes your body react to it, and then all of a sudden you're better and stronger. So that's kind of the way I look at it.
So fantastic information. So you and I both agree that we have to get into our body and embody who we are in order to heal. In your professional experience, why do people leave their body to survive trauma? And I want to say a lot of times as a medical intuitive, I do all kind of very interesting healings. For example, if somebody has been abused, there's literally holes in their energy field. And so
Yes, wow.
they become hypersensitive to everything. And
Mm-hmm.
and there's so many people, when I look energetically at how they survived, they literally left their body, right?
Yes.
Right? So they were in a car wreck and they left their body. In
Mhm.
your professional opinion, why do people leave their body to survive trauma?
Oh, I mean, it's a perfectly natural defense mechanism to not have to stay in the feeling. I mean, the fight, flight, faint, freeze system is actually perfectly designed. It's actually perfectly designed, and we have to learn it so that we can understand why do we do it. I call it the escape hatch. Like, so I say, okay, something happened, and whoosh, you're right here. You're in the escape hatch, hanging out. Your body's right there. You're close enough to it. You're not so far gone that you can't function, right? But you're not quite here because being here is too uncomfortable because we're holding on to that past trauma, the thing that happened. And when it happened, and it happens and I'm just going to be honest, every gender, doesn't matter what gender you identify as, it happens to us in childhood. And we do pop into the escape hatch, either parts of us or lots of us, right? And then we're these walking around getting implanted by all the teachers and all the kids in the school. And there's so much just stuff, right? So it makes sense that we would hang out up here because we don't want to feel it all because it's a lot to feel. But when you're ready to feel it and ready to come in, it's not as hard as we think it is to actually feel. It's actually a little harder to stay out there and keep this machine running without full presence, right? It's like harder. It's like a tension that doesn't feel good, but we don't even know it until we're like, oh, I'm back in my body. And then like that's what happened to me. That's how I began my journey, was feeling literally like I was slammed back into my body. And I was like, oh my God, I'm here. Like this is where it's at. what have I been doing? And it's not easy to feel. And sometimes we numb out because it's too much with, the world or our lives or our stories or our other things that happen. But this past traumas, if we can, I think it's a natural defense mechanism to just to jump out when it's overwhelming. And I think it's healthy, especially if your trauma is very great. I mean, I don't mean great, I mean very large. It's very healthy to jump out and to be out and to not, have that bodily memory continually plaguing you. But if you don't come back in, you can't heal that. That's the problem. So, Louise Hay said, you got to feel it to heal it. And, I read all her books, and I'm definitely going to read your book. And read a lot of Barbara Brennan and other people in the energy world. So I understand what you're saying when there's holes in the aura. Like I get it. I get it on a level. So I think that moving the energy, whether it's pain, I mean, some people take years to heal these stories, and that's okay. There's no rush. It's that body time versus the mental time. The mind's always like, you have to hurry, hurry and heal. And why am I not fixed yet? And I have to fix myself, blah, blah, blah. But it's a journey. That's why I called it journey dance, because it's a journey of healing. It's like once you step on it, you're like, oh, there's layers and layers, and I can keep going and I can become more authentically me.
Fantastic information. And with that, let's take a break and listen to a message from our sponsor here at UK Health Radio. I'm your host, Catherine Carrigan, medical intuitive healer, Amazon #1 bestselling author. And we're here listening to Toni Bergins, the creator of Journey Dance. We'll be right back. Toni Bergins, creator of Journey Dance. In your professional opinion, why is it important? Because your book is called Embodied. Why is it important to reconnect with our body and to embody our true selves in order to heal?
Wow, well, this is our home. I mean, we can use our mind. It's no problem. The mind is a brilliant, wonderful thing. The mind is creative and can do all these amazing things. But without like that heart and that visceral connection to life, there's a missing piece. It's like, eating without tasting. It's like, you can have the first chip and you taste it, but then you can't taste any more chips after that. That's kind of being in your head. But when you're in your body, like each bite is an experience. And I feel like to have a real experience in the body, I mean, why do we come into a body in the first place, right? We come in to have an incarnate experience. And I remember studying, Rudolf Steiner about when does the body fully incarnate? When do we separate from our parents? Like, I studied a lot of different spiritual paths, and this path of incarnation is to feel and to be in a body. So I feel like without it, we're missing a whole layer. I mean, some people will be fine and they'll live their lives very successful and a lot of things, but there's areas of that being in the body opens up for us, like sensuality, for example, sexuality, heart, love. Some people can live with a certain degree of love, and other people really have so much more to give than they've ever even known they had to give until they got into their body and realized, wow, I'm just full of love. And that takes some courage. So I don't take this lightly and say to people, get into your body. What are you doing? But when you're in your body, you feel empathy. You feel compassion. It's a real feeling. It's not a thought. It's not just like I'm doing meta prayer. May all beings be happy. It's like, oh my goodness, may I be happy. May you be happy. May you be free. May I be free. May we all be free. And you feel it viscerally. And I do believe that that will shift the collective consciousness. I'm hoping that that's my goal, is that I continue to help people do this work so that we can actually shift something larger than ourselves, even though we have to start here. We can't just go globally. We have to start here. Because they say, right, the inner and the outer are interwoven. So if I'm at war with myself constantly and forever, then I'm going to create that in my life. I'm going to have chaos and drama and pain in my life. If I'm in love with myself and really, really listen on a deep level, I'm going to create deeper relationships and feel met and seen and known and the things that we need. It's kind of like an absence of I'm really thinking of the word. It's like an absence of when you're just in your head, it's like you can just sort of stay above the fray. I don't think it's a bad thing, but it's a choice you have to make if you want to be in this life fully. And as I said, it's not easy. Everybody's going through different things all the time. Every person is their own universe and their own, divine suffering or their divine joy. They have to make that choice.
So great information. I also feel as a healer that there's tremendous divine wisdom in our body. And when
Absolutely.
we're just in our head, we may not actually be correct.
Right.
Right? But there is wisdom in the body, and your body does know best. Now, I remember years ago listening to a lecture by Candace Pert, who was a
Hmm.
scientist, the co-discoverer of endorphins. And I remember she was at the time, I was at a conference of movement professionals like yourself, and she said that she spoke to three groups of people, kinds of people, movement professionals, spiritual people, and doctors.
I
And
love that.
and and she said the most integrated people were actually the movement people.
Mm,
One of the things she said that I will never forget, she said, if you want to understand what's going on with your unconscious mind, look down at your body.
yes. I'm
Yeah,
100% with you.
yeah. So, and I'll say that again, if you want to understand what's going on with your unconscious mind, look down at your body. And it goes back to what we said at the beginning, that emotions are sort of superficial for about 6 days. And then when they don't get resolved, they literally go into your physical tissue. And this
Right.
is the basis of my work as a medical intuitive, because I can read anybody anywhere because your body's talking. So, in your experience as the creator of Journey Dance, what do you think? What does our body reveal about our unconscious mind?
Mm, such a good question. Oof. I mean, this is everything. This is, posture and energy and you can feel like when you get in your body, you turn on this, intuition state that you have. So you have fully developed yours, right? Most people have not. So when you walk into a room, you are actually making an impact on the room. Like your body makes an impact on the room, your energy makes an impact on the room. So when you're in your body and you're feeling like, really good, people notice like your vibration. You're feeling really sad, you're shut down, you got stuff going on. People feel it. Nothing's wrong with either thing. But how do we learn how to move that energy to be, because your authentic self is always going to be a, I believe, more positive, soulful, joyful than your remembered self, right? Like the self that you get trained into being. However you're raised, you get trained into being this way. So if I'm the fixer, I'm the fixer. If I'm the expressor, if I'm the funny one, if I'm the bitch, if I'm the this or that, right? We're just going to get trained into these patterns. So how do we untrain ourselves and really come into this authentic self is the question. And I believe that through movement, through dance, I feel like I can integrate, I can love my angry, like really powerful, raw self. And I can love my sweet, like little tender self in the dance. And I can love all my parts in a different way, viscerally, like by enacting them, by feeling them, by I'm an actor as well as a dancer. So I've always been, I love the emotions. I think it's where everything is. And they say that all memory is created from emotion, right? So I want to help people overlay their old memory with new memory of like, oh my God, I feel good. And there's just a little snap of the fingers, a little hands in the air, a little, this moment like, oh, wait, there's joy in here too. There's joy in here too. I have to remember joy. So I'm training people's bodies actually to know that they can make it through anything. I call it resilience plus joy equals empowerment. It's in the book. It's my big equation. Resilience minus joy equals suffering. So I can decide I'm going to be resilient and really suffer through this and every day wake up, oh, another day. Or I can be resilience. Okay, I can make it through this plus joy. Then I'm empowered. Then I have like this life force to give. I don't know if I answered the question. I think I went off on a tangent.
It's a great information, great insights. Now, another leader in the movement field was a gentleman by the name of Moshe Feldenkrais, who
Oh
developed
yeah.
a system of his healing called Feldenkrais.
Hmm.
And you and I and everyone in movement and healing, we're all building on the shoulders of giants. And one of the things that Moshe Feldenkrais talked about, as you know, as the creator of Journey Dance, is that when you change your posture, you change your state of mind.
Exactly. Oh, that's the question you were asking. Okay, yes.
Yeah. So when I change how I'm standing, how I'm sitting, how I'm moving my body, I'm going to change my state of mind, right?
Hmm.
Okay. And you're
I
the,
love it.
yes, he talks about this. So as the creator of Journey Dance, I'm going to ask a challenging questions. What are the easiest ways to move to feel happier?
Oh, I love this question. This is not a hard one. This is one of my favorites.
Okay, great.
I have to tell you, there's one of the chapters. This is the book, and I made it super fun. And I did this because I love to make people laugh. So I asked if they would put a flip book at the bottom because I just think that's just fun. I couldn't have a book on movement with no dancing in it. So one of the chapters is called Funky Connection, which is where you put on music. I have a whole playlist for you. If you get the book, you just go into my portal. There's playlists and videos, and you just start bopping and moving and shaking and shimmying and wiggling, and it's just that simple. That is the beginning of joy. If you just go for it for a few more seconds, all of a sudden you're like, all right, I'm starting to feel good. And you can do it. You're doing it with me right now. Like your head is starting to move, little things start to happen. Little bits of movement is all you need, but in a certain vibe. Like, we're not going to, if we go super slow, it might not bring joy. That's a different movement pattern. This is a different form. This is what I call prayer. When you're in movement flow, that's slow and you're focused. There's all different types of movement, but the fun one, if you want to bring joy into your life, I used to say, what's your happy dance? Like what was there one time in your life when there was like a movement everybody did? Like we did this one thing when we were in seventh grade, we did this one thing and we were fun and we were uninhibited. And then suddenly we became, either as a woman we became sexual, or as a boy we had to step into some role. So we dropped all of our fun playfulness to be an adult, which is just ridiculous. I mean, that's not what real adulting is, not about dropping fun. But that's my first thing, is basically like literally snap your fingers, shake your hands out, roll your shoulders back. Oh, this is one of the most fun things I do with people. Okay, so I'll be like, let's walk through the floor. Everyone's rolling their shoulders back and they're smiling at each other out. Now don't roll your shoulders back and see how it just not right there. You go. You felt it. It's like, this is so fun and so
Yes.
inviting and so intriguing. And everyone's like, ooh, I want to connect with you. So it's about, I call it funky connection, because we just want to look around and see people. I call it like kids in a candy store, like look at every different person's weird movement. I have a thing called, do you want to be weird or do you want to be perfect? Because perfect is so boring and weird is so fun. So I play with that and get people to get weird with each other. I don't know if people like that word, but I reclaimed it. I said, I love weird. Weird is one of my favorite words.
Now, you came to Journey Dance and creating Journey Dance and the embodied transformation method through your own personal journey. Tell
Yeah.
us about your own personal journey. What brought you to this work?
Hmm. Well, I think that I jumped into the escape hatch at some point. I'm pretty sure I did. And sometimes I still go there because certain things still trigger me, just like everybody else in the world. Um, because I had a certain type of family dynamic that was, really hard. I sort of became the compartmentalization queen because we were dealing with other siblings that had a lot more high need. I'm sure some of you have been through this. You have siblings that have a lot of high need. You become the really good caretaker, make sure everyone's good. You're smiling, you're happy. I was the happy girl, and I always was a very happy person, but I was like the happy girl, and everything was good, even though it was all just a surface layer where everything internally was bad and difficult and shadow. And there was a lot of anger in my family. There was a suicidal one, a lot of issues that we were navigating. And then sensually and sexually, I had a big bloom when I was 13 that I was not prepared for, and became like much more of a woman at a very young age physically, and had some trauma around that, some like actual physical trauma. I had some things happen. So, I am that person, right? So what did I do at 16? I said, "Oh, I'm going to throw up. This is like the first time this is a part of my story, but I understand bulimia in a different way than, I mean, doctors and studied it and all things. But when I was that age, what I discovered about myself was I couldn't hold my emotions. I had to purge. So it was like purging was my way of clearing the emotional body.
Mm.
And I became addicted to it over like, the course of about 8 years. So I did heal myself from that, honestly, with some amazing therapists who helped me a lot. But I did heal that myself because that's a choice that I had to stop and then find other ways to move the emotional body. So what happened was, though, at one point, this is kind of funny because you mentioned Feldenkrais. I'm going to do something silly to talk about Tony Robbins for 1 second. But when I was like 21 or 22, we used to get the bootleg tapes and put them in our Walkman. And I was walking around New York City, super, super intense, like black hat, black clothes, Doc Martens, like hunched over, totally just not in a good place. And I'm listening to this tape and he's like, lift your chin up and flex your hands. And I'm like, we're doing NLP, and I'm like, oh my God. And I was like, oh my God, this is like, I feel better. Flex your hands. I'm telling you, you could feel joy if you just look up for a second and flex your hands. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, my posture is actually teaching my body. Smile. And suddenly my body is going, oh, hello. And I started opening up. I started opening up slowly to like, what is possible? So my story is I went on a very intense spiritual dive. I studied different religions. I studied like every religion that I could. I was absorbing information. I was reading Starhawk and I was reading the Bible and I was reading my original religion. I was reading, Hinduism and Buddhism. And I just read, read, read. And I became a teacher, became an English teacher, and all these things happened. My whole life went in many directions. And then I hit that dance floor moment. Oh, one more thing to add before that. The way I decided to control was through exercise. So I became like a super exercise aholic, which is like, I would go to, this is back in the 90s. So I'd go to the gym. And in New York City, you had to like sign up in advance. It was that like competitive. You had to like buy your spot. So I'd be doing like step and workouts and all this crazy stuff. And I was so into it. And I had like lost my friend group because I was working out like every single night. I slowly became like isolated in this perfectionistic, really bad bubble. It was really not good. And I appeared great on the outside. No one would ever know that I was like internally a mess. And then I hit that dance floor moment. I went to Kripalu Center, I live near Kripalu Center now, which is this massive yoga ashram. And I went to this dance class, this amazing man named Yuri. He has since passed away, but he was the first moment. I'll never forget it. I go into this dance class and it was very fun and light and not like journey dances today, but it was just without any mirrors. And I just started crying in the corner. He just like said something like so sweet. And I just started crying in the corner. And I realized like I was a dancer. I was I was a dancer. Like I'd never danced. I took lessons and you can read my book. I had all kinds of funny stories about the dancing, but I was shut down. That was not me. I would go to clubs and stuff, but I wasn't like a dancer. And then I had this big awakening. I was like, oh my God, I'm back in my body. Oh my God, my body. I love you. I'm so sorry. And I stopped everything on a dime. I was like, you will never throw up again. You will never go to the gym again. You will never smoke cigarettes again. You will never, I like literally like my body was like, you are done self-abusing. You are finished. And we had this conversation and it changed my life. And that moment I said, I'm going to do this for every person I can possibly do this for. I have to do this. So I went and studied that dance form and then I birthed my dance form out of that over the next like 7 years. And I just layered all the psychology and everything I'd studied into mine. So that's kind of how my healing, and it's still going, it's still growing, and it's still becoming, larger. And the body of work is just really big now. This is about a quarter of the body of work.
So thank you. I can tell that you've literally put your whole heart and soul into creating a movement healing form that to help others. It's so powerful.
Thank you. Thank you
And
so much.
with that, let's take a break and listen to a message from one of our commercial sponsors here at UK Health Radio. I'm your host, Catherine Carrigan, medical intuitive healer, Amazon #1 bestselling author. Our guest is Toni Bergins, founder of Journey Dance. Toni Bergins, the creator of Journey Dance. In your personal story, you talked about binging and, different forms of self-abuse, which I actually think affects almost 100% of women
Yeah.
because, in our culture, in definitely in Western culture. And
Hmm.
I was looking recently at Instagram, and it was like, I was looking at all these pictures and videos, and I was like, who here has not had plastic surgery? Who,
Right.
and so, and then we have the Zempics. I did a whole radio show on how to get off Zempic. So there's all these forms of self-abuse
Mm.
that are often socially acceptable. And it
Yep.
all comes out to a disordered relationship with our physical body.
Yes.
So, Toni Bergins, the creator of Journey Dance, what might you say to someone who's struggling with body image and disordered eating or just feels uncomfortable in their own skin? And by the way, this is
Yep.
definitely affects women, but it also affects men for sure.
Hmm. Yeah, you're just such a wonderful interviewer and so insightful, and I really love these questions. So one of the things I want to share was when you asked it, when you said it, it was like, yeah, because then I found out later that all my friends from high school, all of us were suffering silently, like this particular friend group, and probably all the other friend groups I didn't know, trying to be something that is just, some ideal that is just hoisted upon us. And then because we have the privilege of having, food, we are able to like do this abusive thing to ourselves. So what I've come to over the years of investigating that was that it was an empathic overwhelm. And I want to say this so people understand. I don't believe that bulimia is about your body. I just don't believe it. It might be that you look in the mirror and you don't like what you see, but that's not why you end up shoving the food in. You shove the food in, number one, to create a sensation in the body so you can feel something because we're numbed out emotionally because we have this empathic or this emotional overwhelm, right? So because we have the overwhelm, we've shut off our center of feeling. So when you eat, the feelings, like you feel your actual body against itself, right? And then you feel so uncomfortable that you purge and then you create the parasympathetic, release of dopamine, serotonin, and you feel like kind of high or whatever the feeling is that you get from it. I mean, I don't remember anymore, but it's that sensation. And then you become addicted to that cycle. But I think at the core of it, and this is my personal perspective, and there are many people who might think differently, is that there's an empathic and emotional overwhelm. We are not able, if we're not in our body, we are not able to process our own emotions. We're going to take, especially if you're very open, and many women and men are very sensitive. And we're in these environments, and school, I really believe, is one of the harshest environments. And now Instagram could be a harsh environment, right? And social media. So we're in these harsh environments that have all these expectations. So we just shut it down. We shut down the feelings and we do something to bring the feelings back because we want to feel. We don't want to be numb. So I don't want to blame you or shame you if you have this issue going on. It's so common. I've worked with women in their 60s and 70s that are still struggling with it. So please don't think that you're the only one. You could be 20, you could be 18, you could be 14, you could be 50, whatever it is. It's coming to terms with the fact that you have to feel whatever emotion you're numbing out so deeply and just let it move. It's like the tears. I think that if I'm never going to look back and say I did the wrong thing because in the moment we do what we need to do to survive in a sense. But if we could feel without judging that there's just grief, there's just natural grief from what we've been through. There's grief from, I remember coming home from high school after school and just feeling like I can do this now. Then I couldn't do it. But now I can look back and say, oh, I just felt so awful. Like I just didn't know what to do to eliminate that feeling. Instead of just crying, I ate and purged, right? It was like, but because crying felt too overwhelming, it felt too vulnerable, it felt too scary. And that's what I mean by the empathic crisis. Like I was walking around like a vortex. I'm very open energetically, and I know you are too. And I was walking around like this vortex. And I think so many of us are these highly sensitive people that we are helping other people without even knowing it, taking on their emotional garbage, right? So how do we move it through the body? That's why journey dance for me is my way. I'm like, that's the way I look at it. I'm moving the energy through my body. So I try not to carry. This is the thing that's really interesting about dance, and and I'm sure you have to do your own processes of moving energy. I love dance because and the music, and it's fun, and it's a fun way to do it, but I'm really energetically clearing. I'm really saying I'm going to like expunge this, and then I'm going to be clear, clean, and open and available for my people for the next thing that's happening. But I'm not going to be like a vortex. I'm going to have boundaries, and I'm going to say, this is me and this is you. It's a very interesting thing, but I think at certain ages we don't get boundaries, so we're energetically porous and we're letting all the stuff in. I know that's not maybe the answer we're looking for with body image, but I think it's all related. And then if you add societal expectations and all that stuff, then you're just in a cluster. So learning to love your body can start just I have this dance I do that's just hands, just like say look at your own hand and just see how fascinating it is. How does it work? How do all the joints move? What can you do with it? And then go the other hand and just become fascinated with yourself and look at your elbow and look at your shoulder and look at your wrist and start saying hello, mwah, and start loving this container. Whether it's exactly looks like what you want to look like in the mirror, don't worry about that. Start looking at it. Don't look in the mirror. And then, feel your body. And if you have a lot of excess, body that you don't like, you can say, what am I holding on to? What am I carrying? Is this genetic? Is this emotional? And you'll know, is this food? Is this dis-ease? Is this me? Is this unhealthiness? Whatever that word is, it's complex because there's all kinds of, new information about health and weight. But I always ask, what are you holding on to? What are you carrying? I think a lot of people have one other thing. I'm going to say this. The beauty wound is something that one of my co-facilitators and I talk about a lot. And it's women who have been traumatized or men who've been traumatized, and they carry a lot of excess, whether it's energetic boundaries or whatever it might be, in order to protect themselves, right? To protect the body and the little one inside. So there's a lot of this going on with the body. So there's so much we could talk about. This is just endless. But thank you so much for that question.
Yeah, great information. I remember one time doing a medical intuitive reading on a lady who was very large and very overweight. And I said to her, I said, your weight is not your fault. Because I saw she had been raped as a young child, right?
Hmm.
So it was
Yes.
literally a defense. And, I'll just share, I'm 65 years old. It's all real. I don't dye my hair. My face is real. My boobs are real. It's all
Yay.
real. My wrinkles are real.
Me
And
too.
wearing makeup, but I teach yoga at age 65. I teach yoga 9 times a week. And I love what you're saying about, I think movement does clear our energy, right? And it keeps me energetically open, but with healthy boundaries, right?
Yes.
So it's a way of, I refer to yoga as teaching yoga as my mental health program.
That's excellent. Yeah, this is mine. This is
Yeah.
my mental health program. It's about the body, but it's interesting. So the deeper into your body you can get, like I feel, the more space you have in your mind to begin to actually think instead of react. Most of us are literally just reacting to our own thought stream, which is not an active thinking, it's a passive receiving of thoughts. And those are mostly recorded thoughts, right? That are just, you're such a blah, 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 like something you heard your parents say. Like I wrote in the book about a woman who she used to say, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Every time she was talking, I said, why do you say that so many times? Why are you always saying you're sorry? She's like, oh, because we had to say I'm sorry because we had to say I'm sorry all the time. I said, oh, well, just notice that now. So the more in your body you get, it's almost like, oh, I'm present in my body. Now I can hear the thoughts. Which ones do I want? Which ones do I don't want? Oh, what a question.
So this is fantastic information. Toni Bergins, founder of Journey Dance and the Embodied Transformation Method, author of Embody, Feel, Heal, and Transform Your Life Through Movement. Any final thoughts for our audience?
Yes. If you've never considered, exploring movement or music as a healing modality, it's time. It's time to just see like what would happen if I put music on and I danced, with me, in the portal. You can go in, there's like tons and tons of videos just to explore and practice. What would happen if I got on the floor and rolled around? What would happen if I felt my spine and became like more, let my sensuality, what would happen if I expressed my anger? Like what would happen? And I think what would happen is you'd have so much more energy and vitality and vibrance and radiance than you even realize is being repressed because it's just something that we're just not conscious of it. And then we'll start, and they say, move it, what do they say? Use it or lose it, right? The more we kind of move the energy, the more energy we have access to. It's not that we are, you have no energy, you have energy, but the more energy I move, the more energy I can access. And then I feel a joy for life and a gratitude for life. For me, it's all about gratitude. I hit my 50s and my kids are kind of launched and in all different situations right now. And I've been really feeling a sense of gratitude um, from my own work, my own path, and then like all the people I meet, and everyone is becoming like a part of my beautiful painting instead of like a problem, right? So look at everything as, oh, what's going to happen? Da, 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 da. The nervous system over time calms down when you dance, when you move in this particular way. So if you've never done this type of stuff before and you're willing to give it a try, it does take risk and it does take courage, and I honor that. And it also is fun. So it's not harmful.
You've been listening to the Natural Healing Show for UK Health Radio. I'm your host, Catherine Carrigan, medical intuitive healer, Amazon #1 bestselling author. You can find out more about me and my work at catherinecarrigan.com and unlimitedenergynow.com. Our guest today has been Toni Bergins, creator of Journey Dance, author of Embody, Feel, Heal, and Transform Your Life Through Movement. And you can find out more about Toni Bergins and her wonderful work at her website, journeydance.com. And remember, when you get into your body, you heal yourself naturally. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you so